The tree of liberty has been thirsty for too long. I am the spark, the powder, the match, the shot that rang, the line in the patch. I am the night they tossed the tea, the oath they swore to die free. You can chain my hands, you can break my bones, but you'll never own my soul. I am the fire in the midnight sky, the reason tyrants die. I am 1776, lightning, thunder, iron, and grit. Every musket, every fist. I am 1776. Oh, 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 oh. I am 1776. I am the flag they tried to burn, the shot that made the empire turn. I am the rebel, the Minuteman, the ink that wrote we can. We hold these truths, hear my boots on the cobblestone, hear my war cry, shake the throne, hear my drum, you know it's near, your reign of fear ends here. I am 1776, lightning, thunder, iron, and grit, every musket, every fist. I am 1776. Oh, oh, I am 1776.
Good morning. It's Tuesday. I'm going to bring George on. He's in the car traveling today. And hi, George. Yeah, I want to start out just in case something happens. You guys know I was having internet problems. Huh? What? What'd you say?
Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs
Yeah,
up.
I can hear you. You can't hear me? Turn your volume up. I don't know. Come back in or something. But I was having internet problems yesterday.
Hello?
And yeah,
Can you hear me
hello.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
I don't know what's going on.
I know.
Sign
In the
up, sign
chat,
up.
can you let me know if you can hear me in the chat so that I know I can tell that? I can tell George, please. They can hear George. Okay, can you hear me though? That's what I'm asking you guys. Can you hear me on the broadcast? Nobody's answering me. Okay, yep. Somebody said, whoop, there goes George. Anyways, I'm having problems with the internet. You guys noticed it was yesterday. Well, right before I started the show, I couldn't load any clips. I was having a really hard time doing that. And oh, George, you're driving me crazy here. All right. And anyways, so I couldn't add any clips. I got a couple things in here, but I got a text right before the show started that there's a network performance issue with the service over here, and that they might go ahead and they're going to try to fix it by 10:30 with minimal disruptions. And I spent all day on the phone yesterday trying to fix this, so it was driving me nuts. But so anyways, so if I disappear or anything happens or we have technical difficulties, that's why they're like I can see them from the house replacing wire on the pole and stuff. So, and Sean's not here today. Sean's traveling. He's in the Bahamas. He sent a picture of some really nice water, which would have been nice. I would have liked. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and can you hear me, George? Apparently not. So Anyways, I'm going to start out with a prayer. We'll go with that. So, Lord Jesus, as I walk the path of life today, let my eyes be your eyes, sharing compassion, warmth, and love. Let my hands be your hands, bringing healing with their touch. Let my ears be your ears, listening where there is need. Amen. So, start out with that.
Amen. Can you hear me now? Testing.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear
What
you
the hell?
just fine.
I couldn't hear you. That's what.
But can you
Let's do
now?
that. I think. Yeah, it's fine now.
Okay. Well, then that's good. I don't know what it was, why you couldn't, but everybody was telling me
No,
they could hear me.
I had to jump on again.
Yeah. Well, they could have pinged the system while you were, because I don't know. I'm just hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that nothing, we just don't go black. But
Yeah,
so,
we just wanted to
so
notify everybody in case we lose the show. So.
yeah, it's something I can't help it. So that'll be, if it does, that's what happens. But we try to work around it. Yesterday it drove me nuts. But what do you think about that Supreme Court shit today, George? What do you think? You think they're gonna?
If they vote for the left with the boys and girls sports and about the transgender thing, we just lost our country. That's all I can tell you. It's done. We're done. If the
Well,
Supreme
yeah,
Court if the Supreme Court does that, it's done. The only way they can be stopped is with President Trump doing an executive order. But
well, isn't that what it started on? Was the executive order, and this is the challenge to it?
yeah, it was. But now what happens if it goes back to him? It goes back to them. I doubt it very much that they're going to approve it. I mean, the with the whole thing. I mean, you're forcing uh, government. Well, could you say government, or to challenge all these? It's the. I think I sent you that paper. Remember, I sent you that paper about what all it's all the blue states that there's 19 blue states that want the transgender thing. There's 12, no, 19 states that want 19 blue states that want the women in sports, the guys in sports, that shit.
Yeah.
And then they got, and then there's 12 states about the transgender. Excuse me. So I sent that paper. I mean, I could pull it up on my phone and read it,
No.
but it's got to be. I can't believe they would agree to that. Especially we got more in the Supreme Court than they do.
Hmm.
But you never know with Mrs. Barrett there.
I don't know. I'm thinking that they're going to go ahead and keep it where the guys can't get in, because if they go like to the legal aspects of it, there is a legal definition of what a woman and what a man is, based on the chromosomes, and so that's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed on.
Well, just think of all the girls and the parents that drove their kids around to do everything about the sports to try to make them get those scholarships in the colleges. And these jerk offs jump in there and want to become women. And then what happens to that point? now they get the scholarships to go in the colleges and everything else,
Hmm.
and take it away from the girls and the parents. I mean, with all the work that the parents do, it's not easy, to take your kid and run them around all over the place with the sports stuff. You did this since they were kids and stuff, and now they're grown, college age, and then they could possibly get a scholarship. And then there's this idiot that thinks he's a girl jumps in and then takes the scholarship. It's a lot of money. You're
Yeah,
talking about colleges of $50,000 a year pop.
yeah.
That's how my 401k went.
Yeah, but look at all the opportunities girls miss out on, because there's no way they're going to be able to beat them. Just like the swimming and everything, with guys being built different, it doesn't matter whether they said they're a girl or a boy. I mean, it's your physical body,
Yeah,
you
the
know.
muscular structure, just the muscular structure, the muscles, and the power of the muscles. I mean, compared to a woman, the strength is well known that there's a big difference in comparison. I mean, that's why they have the Olympics are separated between women and men. But who knows
Mhm.
what's going to happen with them bulky people?
Oh, yeah. You know what? If the Olympics is in the United States and they let trans people compete like that, I think that Trump should just nix it and tell them go do it someplace else.
Well, because of what's her name, Good, which she's got an arrest record that's unbelievable. But she was an innocent mother that dropped the kids off from school and just went to a rally. And
Oh,
that's
yeah, Renee Good you're talking about.
well, that's why I said it's good. Everything's good.
Yeah.
So that's what everything's about. It's everything about good. Everything. You got the jerk offs, and the problem is the fake news media just carries all their lines of bullshit from that Frey, that jerk off that he is, and because they want to take the attention off of the shit about the Somalians.
Yeah.
Everything is a distraction. We're getting attacked by people. Have to wake up because we're getting attacked. You know the video you open up with. Do you know where the revolution happened? It was because of 3 cents tax. 3 cents on,
Hmm.
on the products. And they said we ain't paying it no more. And they started a revolution. And they
Yeah.
fought the biggest one in England. Now we got the biggest thing we got here now is that we're fighting a war against these people, and it's got to
Yeah.
stop. And I don't. I think I think martial law should happen. Something's got to happen because it's got to stop.
Yeah. TSM in chat said the word for today is criminals.
Yeah, but the biggest word, that's a very good one, but it's accountability. Nobody's being accountable. And then that ET person there, Omar, she comes out and says, well, they're trying to take the thing about what they're supposed to be investigating and having all these ICE agents out here breaking the investigation.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, what about the investigation of all the beautiful cars that they got?
Yeah,
and
did you
and
hear
the
that
building.
that in Minneapolis that they sell the most BMWs there because of all the
Yeah,
Somalis? I mean, come on.
yeah.
They all drive BMWs and they're on welfare. What the hell? I think they
Look,
should take their
the thing
cars
that
away.
bothers me the most, they pay guaranteed they pay cash because the Muslims aren't allowed to take loans.
No, that's what they were saying about that. You want to? This is kind of funny. We're talking about Ilyan Omar. Watch this one. Ah, it won't work. I have to do it another way. I can't do it. I can't put a clip up. It just wouldn't come up. It's too much bandwidth. Damn
Well,
it.
we'll save it for tomorrow.
Oh,
We'll
it's
have a
good
schwa.
too.
That's it. Can't help it. I gotta go. I'm doing a thing on the road that I have to go to because I promised somebody. Right, those gonna be done in the afternoon, so I'm doing that. So that's gonna start, I believe, like a quarter to 10 or something. But it has to do a lot with insurance. Anyway, but the whole thing is that they are they're still doing it. They haven't stopped them. They have not stopped the money that's going to all these places. Everybody. They haven't stopped the funding at all. They haven't shut the faucet off. They're still getting the money.
Yeah, did you hear Tim Burchett yesterday? He came out and said there was a vote, and it was something to do with foreign aid, and there was three bills that he voted no on, and he said even his aides told him to vote positive for one of them, and he said he just couldn't do it, and he said, we're just getting ripped off so bad. Oh yeah, Trump is on his way to Michigan today. Said he was going to one of the Ford facilities, I think, for the
Mm.
motor.
Yeah, he is. That's what he's doing. He's got to. The problem that Trump is having is he has all these rhinos that are fighting against him with the bills that are sitting on the table and all the stuff that's happening. It's amazing. Everything's got to go to, things that are normal at the time are going to the Supreme Court to make a justification of what's wrong. I, it just it just doesn't stop. And it's not going to stop because you got that uniparty in there and you got to get rid of them. And if we don't, vote, if everybody's got to go out and vote, if they don't vote, we're going to be in big trouble. We got to, even if the people are rhinos, you got to vote for them anyway. They had a thing on the news this morning: 20%, 27% Republicans, 20 registered, 27 Republicans, 27% Democrats, and 48% was independent.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you for a second? People are saying in the chat I'm freezing up. Yeah, at the very beginning of the show, I said that I had problems yesterday, and Xfinity's here right now working on it, and they're trying to do it with minimum disruption. But if we disappear, that's why they're right on the pole over here, kitty corner from me.
Oh, look at his asshole. Unbelievable. Come right in front of it. It's unbelievable.
It's probably a Somali.
Unbelievable. Can't make this shit up.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark said, yeah, Mark, you figured I knew? Yeah, hell yeah, I knew. I was on the phone all day yesterday with Xfinity, and they kept telling me my computer was fine and my service was fine. Oh, I was so pissed yesterday.
Well, you're speaking to a dothead. You must have been speaking to a Somalian.
Yeah.
Another country.
You know what they kept telling me? Oh, but you need a different plan. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
He says I could,
And then they make,
for another.
and then they convince you to go to a new plan. They make commission, those dirtbags that can't even speak. They should, stick to the 7-Elevens.
Well, he kept telling me I needed a new plan with faster speed. And I'm like, I'm at 1.1 gigabytes right now, dude. I said, I know I don't need a new plan. I said, it worked just fine until today. And he goes, well, he says, it's been a year. I think that's why. I'm like, no, that's not why. I said, I can watch the speed go from 16 all the way up to 200, 300, and then just crater.
Yeah, but look how many people buy into that, and then they make commissions off of that.
Yeah, then he tried to sell me a cell phone, and I just kept typing no in all capital letters. No.
Remember when we went to the Verizon thing? Remember when they were hitting us for all that shit and everything else?
Yeah.
When I just through your phone? And it's just unbelievable. So
I know. They make so much money off of dumb people. I hate to say it because it's not like everybody, a lot of people aren't tech aware and everything. And what I did is, I was on a text chat with them and on the phone. And when I was on the text chat, I just went ahead and pulled up my plan and just read it right back to them. And I'm like, I know you're full of it, because it worked fine until yesterday.
Yeah, well, what they do is they stay on the phone until you say, okay, enough already. Okay, I'll take the plane.
Well, I think, I think I was all together with Xfinity yesterday between texting and staying on the line and all that shit. I'll bet you over 4 hours at least.
Well, let's get back to the politician stuff.
I just wanted to whine and bitch. That's all.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job.
Well, I even called them out on Twitter last night, and I got them to text me back, Xfinity.
Well, they're out there this morning, aren't they? So that's what happens.
Yeah.
Best way is you tell them, say, listen, I know a lot of people on our show have a lot of, your company, and, we could say how shitty your service is. So, I mean, you got to do it that way.
That's what I did on Twitter. I said, bad customer service.
Yep. Well, that helped. But anyway, we all have to see when is this stuff going to stop with these riots. And they said they're going to find out about the funding. What's his name? The Secretary of, what do you call of Treasury? What's his name? Said he's going to investigate. Yeah, he said he's going to go hit up and down everything, find out where this money's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. He made an announcement yesterday. There's got to be a trail. And everybody keeps on saying in the chat about Soros. What?
Remember how many accounts that the Fed said were flagged when Biden was in office? How much you want to bet all those red flags were a lot of that money, Somali money, going out of the country and everything?
Listen, there was, and we're still doing it, but they were paying the Taliban $45 million a week, not a month, a week.
Yeah, for what?
Well, because of the protect the people that were there that helped us out, supposedly for the medical, for the medical. How many It was some agreement that what's his name asshole did Biden because of when and that was the worst thing about getting rid of that airfield. So it just they just they actually did everything they wanted to do was to destroy this country. And now for what he did in 4 years, it's gonna take us a long time to get back. And you got asshole people. Look at the people that come out and march. I mean, they have the sheik came out with the Craigslist about paying you $18 to $21 an hour. And I had a liberal come on the phone, but uh, uh, well, at least they're going for a job.
No.
At least they're going for a job. That's the best. That is the best line I ever heard. So that's how they think. You can't believe they have this mentality, this TDS syndrome that they keep on having. And look at the lady that starts screaming on the TV, like, "Shoot my face! Shoot my face! Shoot my face! Shoot my face!" She kept on saying it over and
Yeah.
over again.
TDS is real. And those are well, just like what George Carlin said, they put themselves in that bubble and then they can't get out of it. They just double down. They're crazy. They're very crazy. Did you see the video clip of I can't remember what show it was on last night, and it was one of the protesters, and he was actually on the left. He was a leftist, and the reporter interviewed him and asked him about did he approve of the people being in the streets and everything, and he said no. And then they asked him about Palestine, and he's like, he says, where's the left? He goes, they're missing. He said they should be out here for people in Venezuela. And he kept going on, and he was actually making sense, and it really surprised me to have somebody on the left be in that
park in the
smart.
back. Parking. Shit.
Yeah. I don't know. People are talking about Starlink. I don't know enough about that satellite thing to find out about that. I guess I could, but as long as it works.
Thing.
Well, you are handicapped mentally.
Oh, shit, I'm gonna hit the fucking pole.
Pay attention while you're parking. Don't talk. But I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going
I just
on.
hit something. Oh, I hit a tree. Talk about insurance.
Oh my God. Where'd you hit it?
Oh, I don't know, the back of the car. Because I'm backing up because this guy wouldn't let me go through.
Yeah, Red, you caught that, huh? I mumble under my breath.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
let me see
so
what time
I don't
it
know. I wish what?
I was looking about what time it was. I was just,
It's 9:23.
I could tell because I got a little clock on my phone that tells me it's
Oh.
9:23.
Oh, you have a clock on your phone? I don't.
Sometimes you're just a walking genius. It amazes me.
I know. I like doing that with you.
Yeah, it's just scary sometimes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I want to see that Supreme Court thing though that's going on. And then the Federal Reserve thing is really cracking me up.
Yesterday I had the thing about Mar-a-Lago. Yesterday. Right?
What thing
They
about
had the court hearing. Well, they had the court hearing.
Oh yeah, for that grand jury in Fort Pierce.
Yeah, Fort Pierce. We didn't hear nothing about that. I was looking at throughout the news if anything happened.
Yeah.
I know some of our people were down there, so I was going to take a ride there, but if I had the bike, I'm not allowed to get on the bike yet, so.
Soon. You'll be able to get on soon. I know it's killing you, but you'll be able to. I don't know. I think the grand jury, they're not going to let anything out because it'll taint a regular jury when it goes to trial. So I bet you they'll keep all that stuff really quiet. But I'd really like to see the dominoes start going, one right after another. Schiff. I'd love to see him go.
It's supposed to see what happens. Everything it's a little lined up. Everybody says everything, so I don't know. Let me get out. I'm gonna get out in a minute. I'm gonna see what's going on. Let me shut this off. I'll shut the car off.
Okay, I'll pop you out.
No. You don't have to pop. Right. Yeah, pop me out. I'll come back. Okay.
I'll just leave you in there, but I'll leave your box open, but I'll leave you in there then.
Yeah, right.
Well, all right. Let's see. So I can't tell you what he's doing, but it's kind of fun. I wish I was going, but I'm not. But I don't know. So anybody's, yeah, people, yeah, Tiagi Xfinity is expensive. They got a freaking monopoly by my house. I am not kidding you. There's nothing else except for a Verizon hotspot, and everybody tells me don't get it because when all the Chicago people come here, the bandwidth just drops to nothing. So I have to keep with Xfinity, and it really stinks. But I don't know. I'm gonna read the chat like while you guys are on here, and if there's something you want to talk about, let me know and we'll talk about it. But you know, Alexandra Bauer, she was going to be on Thursday, and now she's not. She texted me because she's in Washington and she's on the Supreme Court steps and everything today for that for those hearings and everything with Moms for Liberty. And then I don't know if some of you guys are aware of it, but if you, the ones that are on Facebook, if you get on there, there's a few groups of Maha and stuff like that. And if you want to get into those groups and everything, just hit me up on Facebook and I'll go ahead and send you the link to those. And what it is there's one that's all doctors, and they put different articles and stuff up like that all the time. And it's really freaking interesting if you're into that kind of stuff. But I'm going to try to play a clip and see what happens. Let's see if it'll do it. I'm going to take myself out.
Voted for this? The people in South Florida, the Venezuelan community, the Cuban American community, the Nicaraguan American community voted for this. And for us, this is a very, very happy day when we see a dictator who has been part of oppressing and abusing the Venezuelan people for 25 years. When we see him in handcuffs and held to some sort of accountability, it brought me into tears. It brought me great joy. And, you know, I live in South Florida.
But are you okay with the way that it was done?
But you can, I think both things can be true.
Okay.
I think you can criticize and ask questions and have concerns about the way it was done and what this means in the future.
Right.
And I think you can still celebrate that this murderous, corrupt, sadistic son of a bitch is out of Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because he has... I think there's 8 million Venezuelan exiles all over the world. People have fled from this man's tyrannical rule. So for me...
Oops. How'd you like that? I think hell froze over there with on the view. I couldn't believe it when I seen that clip, so I wanted to play it for you guys because it threw me for a loop. I didn't think Anna Navarro actually had any brains whatsoever, and she actually kind of agrees with us on those kind of things, which is really cool. But I don't know. I'm seeing in the chat, you guys, a couple people want that link on Facebook. And it's pretty good. But one thing we're not talking about, and Red brought it up in the chat I'm seeing over here about internal, the Iranian Royal Guard. 12,000 Iranian civilians have been murdered by them already. And Fox is still calling it a protest. See, I missed some stuff yesterday because everything I was trying to get fixed for today. And so that's why I don't have that much. But that's nuts. I think what they're doing in Iran, I pray for those people. They need, the Ayatollah is just a murderous thug. I guess that's a good way of saying it. I don't swear as much as the guys do. But he's a murderous thug. And the most thing I'm excited about, and I think a lot of you guys would agree too, is the women that are in Iran. Can you imagine being subjugated and forced to wear those clothes and bow down to your husband like that and get stoned to death or get thrown off of a building or anything like that? Remember when all the acid attacks were going on and stuff? That was just such horrible things. And you can't even imagine that happening here. But if they allow Sharia law and they outnumber us and outbreed us, we'll see that here. But I hope to God it isn't in our lifetime, and I hope it isn't in our grandkids and everything lifetime either. Yeah, Mark, I should send Rico out there. I'd love to send Rico out to the Xfinity on the pole. Knock them out of their little cherry picker up there. But I just want them to fix it. I got so frustrated yesterday. But yeah, we're talking about Iran and then Venezuela. Here's an angle I bet you guys didn't think about. How about the baseball angle of Venezuela? There's 87 players that are on the roster this spring for baseball in Venezuela. I think that's going to dry up for spring training. We might have a little problem with that, but I know most people aren't interested in that one. Oh, George, think George is back. No, he's not. Well, sorry, I'm reading the chat, keeping it from dying over here and trying to work everything. So I'm going to put this one up. You guys will like this.
Airport. It's like my best friend now. Been so long. Adam Schiff.
How you doing?
Doing well. So in the Senate, what do you think is going to get you first? The treason you committed against President Trump in his first 4 years, or the fraud in California?
You guys take care of yourself. Huh?
Yeah, I am. Just wondering, any family history, got a little bit of the Somali resemblance.
He's going to go full on bigot now, huh?
Why do you think we have so much fraud, though, being committed? And in Democrat cities and states? What do you think caused that? One last question. Do you think the fact that Eric Swalwell had an affair with a Chinese spy should disqualify him from being governor of California? Sir? Should that disqualify Eric Swalwell? Okay, I said that was the last question. Real last question. Is there any truth to the rumor that you had something to do with Anthony Bourdain's suicide? Any truth to that rumor? I guess he's got nothing else to say. California, that's your senator. What a shame, guys. What an absolute shame. But there is something about the guy. I don't know if it's the Somali-shaped head. I don't know what it is, but keep praying for him. I'm praying for you, Adam. Find Jesus. He loves you. And the answer for the question I asked about Eric Swalwell cheating with Fang Fang is yes. It should disqualify him. He should be prosecuted. Waiting for that one too. Schiff couldn't answer that question, but I'll answer it for you. Sad thing is, Katie Porter's even worse.
Sorry about the quality of the videos. As you can see, I couldn't edit anything before it came up. But I thought that was hilarious that he actually confronted Adam Schiff, because I would love to do that. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys would love to do that too. Adam Schiff is such a turd, but his name fits him too. That's the funniest part of it all. But we were talking about Iran, and I know Red knows a lot about that because of who she follows, that Tusi guy. And there was some really good stuff on there as far as videos and everything. I would recommend that one. But he seems to know everything that's going on. Yeah, Mark, I seen that too. CBS News ran a report saying DHS released more video of the Renee Good. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't have it. I got it in my thing, but I can't pull it up. And it was the arrest record of her. And her arrest record goes back years, where she had been on bond and everything for doing all kinds of stuff. It's not good. I think it's like everybody says, it's like a George Floyd moment. And I think that's what they were trying to get out of it, but it sure didn't work. I think a lot of people are more turned off about it than they are turned on by it. I know I'm turned off by it. I can't imagine, not having a job, but getting paid to go out and just sit there and protest and cause problems like that. Leave your kids home, get the possibility of arrest, go to jail, ruin your life and everything for the left. Why? I don't get it. And I guess I always say this too. If you did get it, you'd be as sick as them if you really think about it. And you don't want to be as sick as them. These people are just, like they said, in their own bubble. They have cognitive dissonance. There's a lot wrong with them. Yeah, I see the one of them was burning their kids with cigarettes, and that's why they got taken away and everything. It's terrible. But in a way, if this stuff keeps spreading and everything, it's a really good thing with the Insurrection Act. I hope they go ahead and I don't want to see it, because I really don't want to see, our country torn apart. But that might be the only thing that's going to save it, is to call the Insurrection Act and start making these people heal. And I hate saying heal, but they act like dogs. So, I think it's a good metaphor for them. But so, yesterday we were talking about the fog that's coming out, and I started looking up some more stuff and everything about that too. So a good thing to look up is radiation fog. And there never used to be radiation fog. This is kind of a new thing. If you notice, they're coming up with new names for clouds and new names for weather patterns. And you didn't see this stuff 10, 15 years ago. And there's a lot of people that think the pole shift is coming. And I don't know whether I believe that or not, but it's the magnetic pole has definitely been moving at a rapid pace. And there's a lot of different things that are happening. And then you see the microwave things in the sky and you wonder, is the pole shifting, going back and forth and everything and moving and everything because of what they do with HARP and the radiation in the atmosphere and all the magnetic waves, the microwaves that they use to disperse the clouds. Like yesterday, we were talking yesterday by my house, it was just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sky, totally blue. Within an hour, you started seeing the planes crisscrossing, and then they just totally went ahead and blanketed it out, And I think that's a reason a lot of people are getting sick. If you look at it, it all correlates. Every time there's that heavy fog, a lot of people get the flu. And I just don't know what the purpose of that is, what's in that flu, because people have been sick for a long time. Some people, it's been like a month. Yeah, Stacy, yeah, the poles are shifting. Yeah, and then one citizen, yeah, it moves anyway. But at this kind of speed, I don't think that's natural. But then if you go to the Mayan calendar, remember everything was supposed to end at 2012 and it didn't. But then if you believe in, how do I want to put this? If you believe in time not being linear and that it's circular, 2012 could have been like the time where it starts over again. You ever see like in ancient civilizations, they always have that snake that has its head in its mouth. A lot of people think that is like representative time where it eats itself. So as you go into the end cycle, you turn around and you come back through again and everything. But I don't know about that. I would love to find out a lot of that, but it's kind of interesting. So is the stuff about in the Grand Canyon, about all the different civilizations that must have lived down there, and how this one guy that worked for the Smithsonian went to the Grand Canyon. I think it was like in the 1910, 1920, somewhere in there. And he was going through the real far into the Grand Canyon, and he came across caverns that were way up high, not down like by water level, but way up, like where you would have to rappel up to get in there. And when he did get in there, they found giant skeletons. They found a whole bunch of different like gold, and there was stuff carved into the walls and everything. And it was all like hieroglyphics. So I don't know if you could explain to me how we would get hieroglyphics in Arizona and in Utah or whatever, wherever the Grand Canyon touches through there. I'm not sure exactly what area or what corner, like where it is by what state, but that it was in newspaper articles and everything back then. And you can find it if you Google all that stuff. But if you go to the Smithsonian, you'll never see any of that stuff. Just like the mounds that they have all across the country. There's a few that are over here by me, and I've got a map of where all the mounds are, the burial mounds. And a lot of those, when they were excavating them, had giant skeletons in there, and there's pictures too. You can find them, and it's not AI, it's real stuff. And they were saying a lot of them were excavated, and they took all those skeletons and everything to the Smithsonian, and they just kind of put them in storage or something. But I don't know. Yeah, MK, lots of sickness. Yeah, there's a lot of people are getting sick. But the giant skeletons, that I like that story. That's pretty cool. The mound that's by me is about 10 miles away, but I've never gone and like looked at it because it's overgrown with brush and trees and everything, so it's kind of hard to see. But I think the one in Ohio, the Serpent's Mound, that's a real good one because that one's a huge mound, but it's all covered in grass, but you can see it from the air. There's a lot of that kind of stuff if we go down the rabbit hole, like Tartaria. I don't know how many of you guys know about Tartaria, where supposedly there was a mud flood. So anyways, I'll start it out this way. So every once in a while, like the UN has, or the WEF have that thing about the Great Reset. Okay. Well, there's a story that goes, and if you look at the stuff, there's a lot of evidence that backs it up. But that back in the 17 to 1800s, it would be about the time the New Madreas fault let go, that there was a huge mud flood, and the mud came and it covered a whole bunch of things up. Now, when you go out in the Midwest and you come like Indiana, and you go out farther south, like even the temple in Salt Lake City. There's a whole thing of not really conspiracy theory, architecture, history, and what's the other word where they dig it up? I can't think. It just went out of my head. But anyways, there's pictures that support it too, where these buildings were built a long, long, long time ago. And then that mud flood came and covered up a lot of it, so that when you see like the temple in Salt Lake City, that's not the whole temple. That's just like the very top of it. And that they didn't excavate and go all the way down. I've seen a lot. Karen Turk is into this stuff too. But when they would be digging and building things and everything, like going and putting sewer pipes in and everything, they would find like more and more of these buildings buried. And when you go into a big city and you see the red, like the real red brick, and it looks like it just really ornate on the front, and you have all the turrets and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't built by us. And that wasn't built by people that lived in the 1800s with chisels and stuff like that. But if you notice in the cities, why would you put windows on your basement like right at sidewalk level? And they've been doing excavations like where they would go down in front of that and they would find even more building down there. And I believe that stuff because just like when you go to the Middle East and Egypt and all that kind of stuff, there's people that have went to do renovations in their home and digging in their basement and find tunnels and underground cities and all kinds of stuff. I think that's how they found Darren Kuyu, if I'm not mistaken. But that Tartaria stuff goes along too with when you see the buildings that have all the big spikes on the top of them and everything. They were saying that back then there was a way that we were able to get the energy out of the air, and it's called the ether. So the energy would come from the ether, and those poles all had copper wiring that went in them and went down into the ground, and the energy would come through that copper wire like that and come in and ground. But it was like free electricity. And it's proven. I've seen the scientific experiments where you can do that. I've seen them all over on YouTube. You can find them where people just do that and you're getting energy out of the air and you can see something that's electronic actually work. And they were saying that back when the World's Fair, how they used to do the World's Fair and everything, and they would have all these really ornate buildings. They were all lit up and there wasn't general electricity at that time, but those buildings all had the same spirals, and so did the churches and everything. But we went over the church stuff before about the cathedral windows with the different the different stained glass things at the very beginning of the church that were the circle that had a pattern on them, that those are vibratory patterns, and it was supposedly that's the type of frequency that was in that church, and that would heal different things on you. But they have the med beds and everything like that now, and the med beds actually work. And this all goes back into Tartaria. And if you go into, how I want to put this. Okay, I don't want to name just exactly the family, but the Rockefellers, how they were so far into petroleum. A lot of them seen what they could drive out of the petroleum, and they had so much money that they were able to cover all that stuff up. Now, there's no way that they did the big mud flood. I can't believe that was done by them. It could have been just like a natural occurrence and that they took advantage of it. You really don't know. I don't know. But there's a lot of truth to it because back in that time, in the late 1890s, early 1910s, when people were finding all these buildings and everything and finding the lower levels and stuff, there were the orphan trains that would go across the country. And there was just tons and tons of kids that were orphaned. Now, where did all these kids come from? That's what's interesting to me. And then at the World's Fair one year, they had a whole thing where it was an incubator building. And inside that building was incubators all full of infants, all about the same age. And there was no explanation where these kids came from or who their parents were or anything like that. And it gets really deep. And the Tartaria stuff does. It really does. It's, one of the biggest buildings that they say is a part of that would be in Moscow. The building that has the golden domes and everything on it. That a lot of that building is still underground. But if you look up Tartaria, it was on the maps. Tartaria was actually in on the other side of Russia, between Russia and Europe. And they were supposedly super, super advanced civilization. They were taller people, very intelligent. They had really good, like, not say laws, but their way of life and everything was really different. And they were very, very good at construction. And then that you look at that kind of stuff and it just disappeared off the map. And they said the Russian people were the ones that wanted to take that off the map because they didn't want to show their people that there was another way to live. But it all goes back. You can tie that into the Knights Templar too, because what were they looking for in under Solomon's temple? They were looking for the Holy Grail. They were looking for cash. Who knows? They might have been the ones that found out how to build those different things. But okay, let's see. I'm reading in here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you guys like listening about the rabbit hole stuff, but I could go on a tangent on that stuff forever. It's so interesting. Oh, thanks, Mark. I'm glad my stream seems more stable. Let's try it. You know, we were talking about whatchamacallit, Ilyan Omar. This is kind of funny. Let's see if I can get this to come up.
waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dawladda Mareykanka ka qabo waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne wadanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleeta iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan
Sorry about the edit job on that. I just thought that one was funny. If you guys know that comes from that, I think that's the Ark movie with Steve Carell. I think that's him when he does that kind of weird stuff underneath there. But I don't know. We're talking about that Tartaria too. Karen even one time when she was in Oklahoma sent me some video when she was going through one of the cities over there, and it was those type of buildings, and it was the red brick like that with the ornate back, the ornate front on them and everything. So it was pretty interesting. I know, if you know what to look for, you can see that kind of stuff anywhere you go. Oh, George is back. Hi, George.
I just jumping in to say hello.
Okay.
And say hey to the office. Say it.
All right.
Action. This Patrick. Patrick's a Vietnam vet.
Hi, Patrick.
Great guy. They said hi, Patrick.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, we're good over here. We're good.
Oh, I'll put it down.
Okay, you gonna pop out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see if I get Fran on here.
Wait.
Sorry.
Here, what?
Fran, the lawyer.
Oh, all right.
No, go ahead. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Yeah. I can't tell you what he's doing, but it's really interesting. I think it's pretty cool. So I can't wait to find out how it goes. But that Tartaria stuff too, I wish I could have uploaded stuff, because with no guys here, I can talk about this stuff and they can't interrupt me. But the bit like I know a good example would be when you look like at courthouse buildings that were supposedly built like in 1850, 1860, and they're that red brick. That's the type of building that you need to be looking for. But there's a whole like community on YouTube and Rumble and everything that's all they do is they go through Tartaria, and it's all about, taking energy out of the Ethernet, the buildings, the culture, all of it. But the orphan trains are the ones, what I was saying about before, that really get me, because nobody claimed these kids, and where did they all come from? And they just showed up. And what kind of a disaster happened in our country that we're unaware of that would orphan, thousands and thousands of children? I don't get it. I don't know where they come from, but it's historical. You can look it up. Google orphan trains. It's a real thing. And there's no explanation of where these children came from. All right, let's see. Bye, Stacy. Go babysit your grandbabies. Have fun. I'm jealous. Mine are all too old now. Me too. My youngest is going to be 18 next month, so I haven't had a baby around in a long time, except for George. Yeah, he's a big baby. But I better stop. He's probably watching the show. But Who is it? Little, you've never heard of any of this stuff before? Wow. Yeah, just go ahead and look it all up. There is a lot of it. You can find it anywhere. It's Tartaria. It's Tartaria, and it's even listed on old maps. If you go back like 1600s, this is just a huge region that's on. It's between. We want to say Eurasian because it's between Russia and like Europe up in that way, but it's amazing. Yeah, Red, there are books on the orphan trains and everything too. Yeah, the kids in Lahaina and Hawaii. Yeah, I know. I want to know. But where did all these orphans come from? I mean, that's the crazy thing. And it's all true too. But the building things, look them up. Seriously, because you'll be amazed. And especially the thing about the giants, you can find all kinds of articles about the giant skeletons that are everywhere. But if you really want to get down a rabbit hole, we could get into the Q stuff, but I don't want to because it discredits everybody that when you start talking about it, it kind of, I don't know who came up with that, if it's a psyop from the military and it was like done to keep us quiet and complacent so that things could happen or what. But there's a lot of stuff with that does make sense. But then a lot of it hasn't come into, fruition of what they said was going to happen. So I don't know. So you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt. But another one we could get into, the red brick buildings. They're just crazy. Yeah, the Nephilim, RD, that's what I think those giant skeletons were. I think those were the remnants of what was left of them. Because you figure out, look at where RH negative blood, that's just the blood that where you don't have the Rhesus protein on it. So what that was the Rhesus protein is from the Rhesus monkey. So that shows that you had some type of an animal protein in your blood if you're Rh positive. If you're Rh negative, you don't have any of that whatsoever. Now, this is where I'm going to go down the rabbit hole on this one. So if you're an Rh negative, you don't have that protein, you can go to a lot of different sites and they say that if you go by the Bible, Noah's family was pure blood lineage. So Noah supposedly was a very, very white person with like fiery eyes or something like that. But that lineage was pure according to the Bible. And then you have the Watchers that were supposedly here on earth too. Now I know a lot of you might go ahead and get mad at me for talking about this because it's not really religious, but it has a little bit of it in it. So that Rh negative only showed up, they're saying, like, that they know of it. Maybe it originated 10,000 years ago, like with blue eyes. Anybody that has blue eyes, everybody's related that has blue eyes. You're a cousin. It came from one person. But anyway, so you go with that Rh negative blood, that would make sense. And then the Watchers came and they said that was when that's how we got Nephilim, basically, was that the Watchers saw like the women, the females and mated with them, and you get the hybrids and all that kind of stuff. Well, as time goes on, that RH passed, but it came from a specific spot. They can trace it mostly like into the Basque area, Spain and France, and that they have like their own language. It doesn't come from anything else. It doesn't have Latin root. It doesn't have Roman root, nothing like that. It's totally on its own. So that blood, what they think, there's two different theories on that, but it's either lineage that came from Noah. So it would have been the pure blood that came directly out of Eden and never got tainted, like with the Watchers and the hybridization and the Nephilim and that kind of stuff. Or there's another faction that says that they think the negative part was the Nephilim, and that everybody else, because they were here from Earth, ended up with the Rhesus protein in there. But I don't know how it works. But there's proven studies and everything that when you take Rh negative blood and you put it in a vial and you play music or you talk around that it vibrates and picks up and makes a frequency. and it will actually, what do you call it, biofluorescence, where it will turn like a blue. Now, see, this goes back now to royalty. That blue, what did they call royalty all the time? Blue bloods. Why did they call them blue bloods? Who knows? But it's an interesting correlation. And if you look at that, then all the rulers that were in Europe were all Rh negative, and that's why hemophilia proliferated within the families, besides incest over there. But that was a lot of the problems that they had, and they were all Rh negative. You know, the Windsor family right now currently. And then you get to the presidents in the United States, and there's a lot of them that were Rh negative too, and their lineage all ties into the royal families over in Europe. So there's something to Rh negative blood, but I think if they knew the truth, I really don't think they would tell us anyways, because it would cause so much division in between people. But I do know about it. There is a difference, because what creature on this world destroys their own fetus? The only one is humans. And that is if you're Rh negative and you're with an Rh positive man. It has to be the woman. So you're with an Rh positive man and you become pregnant. That fetus gets destroyed by your own antibodies, because your body recognizes it as foreign. It doesn't recognize it as your fetus. And there's nothing else in nature that does that. So it's a really interesting rabbit hole if you get down on it. But I know about it because I had, what they do if you do that is they give you a ROGAM shot. And it prevents your antibodies from destroying the fetus. But like my grandma had 3 kids and only one survived because of that same thing. So it's just an interesting topic to talk about. But yeah, you send your whole family. See that my genes are so strong. All my kids have blue eyes too. And my grandkids, my grandkids are all blue eyed, I think, except for one. She has brown eyes. But there's a lot to that. But you have to look into things like that and take it with a grain of salt. But if you guys want to talk about that fog and who's all getting sick, I would not go walking around in that fog. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't want to be breathing that stuff in. There's something to it. But I don't know what it is to it. You guys, what do you guys think? Do you think that fog is, and what the nanotechnology they're putting in it is to enhance, 5G or take us up into 6G and not be like actually hooked to anything? Or do you think it's to poison us? I'm torn on this one. I really don't know. Wendy, yes, we think. Okay, which one do you think? Read Enoch. Yeah, Shar. Enoch, Enoch is, that explains a hell of a lot of stuff. If you guys don't know about, I'm sorry about my dog. If you guys don't know about Enoch supposedly in the Bible saw flaming wheels coming down out of the sky, and supposedly he was taken up, and he was shown the world and everything and given things. I don't know. I believe it because of the different things. And speaking of that, oh yeah, speaking of that, remember how we were talking about orbs last year and how they were all over the place? And I told you guys I had seen them by my house, and I see stuff all the time and everything. They just went ahead and announced that Indiana is one of the testing grounds militarily and everything for drones and stuff. So I think that explains what I've been seeing the last couple of years around here. I think once they announce it, it's already been done. They're just letting you know now. Marty, Enoch is not a genuine book of the Bible. There's a lot of them are a genuine book of the Bible. The Bible got split up. If you want to, I know that because of the Council of Nicaea and everything. Look at what they did. If you go back to stuff that was in, this Dead Sea Scrolls. I don't know if any of you guys ever read that. I read Dead Sea Scrolls, and I read Zechariah Stitchin. If you want to read a lot about that, he's got a lot about Sumerian and all the different things that happened. And his stuff is like really wild, but it all ties into, other worlds and people coming here. I don't know. There's so much different things. Yeah, the Ethiopian Bible has the missing books of the Bible, and that supposedly is in Ethiopia too. I mean, and they guard it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. They think they have the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia, and that there's a small building, and it's in that building, and it's Ethiopian priests, and what he does is that priest takes that job for life, and their job is to guard that building, and most of them end up being blind and very, very ill by the time they die. And they think because the ark is in that building and the ark is radioactive, and that they're actually dying of radiation poisoning. But there's so many crazy stories you guys could read. Red Ginger, you read Zechariah Stitchin too. I've read every one of them. Yeah, it's pretty good. If you guys want to read something that really takes you into a rabbit hole, read Zechariah Stitchin. That's crazy. The War of Gods and Men. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I like to read that kind of stuff. I've always been into rabbit hole things. It's kind of my thing. But you guys want to talk about UFOs a little bit? I can really get off on those. I can talk a lot about that. The UFOs, if you figure it out, UFOs are in what Zechariah Stitchin was talking about. There's a lot of people that they go between UFOs and demons, and they don't really know which one it is. And I don't want to find out either. I'm not going to be taken up and go woo woo and find out which which one they are. But a lot of people think that, but then there's a lot of people that think they're multi-dimensional too, and that they're able to come through. And that's where CERN comes in, if you want to go get down a rabbit hole that way too. CERN supposedly wasn't built to find the God particle. It was built to open up a portal so that other dimensions could come into our dimension. And there's people that have gone ahead and said that they've seen it, and there was, I don't know how true it is. I read one account of a woman that was in the main room when CERN was fired up, and she said something came through the portal and it was super, super evil. But every time that they're going to go ahead and switch CERN on, they do a ceremony. And the weird part is they use Shiva, which is the Indian, and it's Shiva is the representation of death and destruction. So why would CERN have a Shiva or the Shiva as like a mascot or a symbol and everything for CERN? It doesn't make sense. If they're looking for the God particle, why would you have a destroyer and a killer and everything as that? But if they open up a different dimension, I don't know if you guys remember, was years ago in Norway when that spiral showed up in the sky. I don't know how many of you guys seen that, but there was a couple times that those weird spirals would show up in the sky, and it would almost like luminesce. And that is, every time that happened, that's when CERN was being fired up. And so that really could be something, where a portal's being opened. And what they were saying was that it was Elon Musk shooting off Starlink and all this other kind of stuff. It wasn't anything like that. But I don't know if any of you guys have seen a Starlink shoot off, but first time I seen one, I thought we were being invaded by UFOs. I mean, it was crazy. They were all coming from the west, and it just looked like one UFO after another. It looked like just like a huge, I don't know, pearl necklace, basically, because it was just one after another. But it was real super low on the horizon. But it kind of scared the crap out of me the first time I seen one. So Shar, you saw the spiral? Yeah. Interdimensional Stargate portal. Anybody, I don't know what they're doing, but a lot of people are supposing that the stuff like I read, the scientific kind of things, and they go into exactly how they would do it, and you open it up. Because if you believe in what you believe in, it's true. Quantum string theory, it all ties in together, and that there's like 10 dimensions, and that, so I don't know. I don't know how you would move into another dimension, and just stay away from that new age shit they have out there now that says you were ascending into 5D and everything. Don't believe any of that stuff. I think a lot of that is it. I don't want to insult anybody or offend you, but if you believe in God, I don't think I would believe in the ascension and the ascending into 5D. I think that is dark forces trying to tie you into something else. But I really don't know. Yeah, New Age is evil. I agree, USN. Sometimes some of the stuff that they say, is not good. You don't put your faith in something like that. You should always put your faith in Jesus Christ and God, because even if you don't believe in organized religion and everything, there's always a way of connecting with that kind of stuff. And what did God always say? That a church is where two or more people meet and discuss God. So I believe that. Well, thanks, Uni. I appreciate that. Yeah, Hard, I know. They're 50 years ahead of what they tell us. Should I tell them, Hard? I'm going to tell them about Luciferus. I don't know how many people know about that. But in the COVID jab and everything, there was a thing that they put in there called Luciferus. And it was a bioluminescent, phosphorescent. So it basically glowed. And why do you think they called it Luciferus? Think about it. Lucifer. I think it's ASE. I think that's how it's spelled. Now, why would you name something that you make in a lab after Lucifer and then put it in something that you think is going to heal people? This doesn't even make sense. But that's the kind of evil we're dealing with. You want to go down another rabbit hole? Let's go down the rabbit hole of reptilians. How about that one? So supposedly there's all these different kind of beings that come into our dimension or come from another world. I think they're interdimensional myself. So yeah, Marty Luciferase, that's right. And when they come into this world, I think I'm going to put what my opinion is, and I don't care if you guys think I'm right or not, but I'll talk about this. They're on a different vibratory pattern is the only thing I can think of. So they say they're able to shield themselves. So you could see a person that looks normal, perfectly normal, looks like a regular human being. Okay. Supposedly these people or things or whatever they are so advanced. They're either able to shift their vibratory pattern, because we're all atoms, and atoms only appear to you as the viewer. So like right now, my body isn't really solid. Every atom is, vibrating. So the perceiver, so it would be whoever is looking at me sees the package, and you see it as one cohesive unit, but it really isn't. Same thing with furniture and everything like that. So let's say these people were able to harness that, or they were able to have some kind of technology, just like they do in the military now, where they cloak things. Okay. A lot of people think that these demons or people from other planets, they call them reptilians, come down here and they're the ones that cause all the havoc. And they're the ones supposedly that, we talk about George Soros and the New World Order. Supposedly these people are above the New World Order. And that's who the New World Order worships. But they're able to cloak their appearance so that what you see looks like a normal human being. But if that cloaking shield or whatever they do with their vibrations disappears, you'll actually see the reptilian. There's a lot of different things that are out on the internet, and you can see people that like the slits in their eyes will go up and down like on video. I can't say all of it's true, but I've seen stuff going back so long on video that it's not, I know for a fact it's not AI and it's not manipulated, because at the time I seen it, we didn't even have that technology to do that when you would put out like anything that was on film. There's people that have come forward and said a lot of the musicians, a lot of, from bands, movie stars, politicians and everything are actually those things. And that's why they have no soul. And that's why they're able to make some of the decisions and do the things that they do. But there was a story that comes out of California, even, that in the tunnels that are under Los Angeles and everything, those things live. There used to be a show on TV that talked about all that stuff and had that story too. But so many people have said they've seen them or interacted with them or anything, that there's got to be some truth to it, because the evil that's in this world and everything, there's no explanation for a lot of it with some people. You can't imagine how people can be that evil and think of some of the things that they do unless they really don't have a soul. And if you comprehend how they are or what, you can understand it. you might have a problem too, because I think if you really understand it, I don't think you'll ever come out of it. I think there's no reason for some of the stuff except for pure evil. Yeah, I know, Aunt Jana. It sounds cray, but there's a lot of stuff up there and that's out there and everything that goes along with that. If you go back to like all the royal families and everything, why did they all use dragons for their symbolism? There's a reason. They call the reptilians dragons. That's what they call them. So when you hear people say, "Oh, you're my little dragon" and everything, that's actually what they're referring to. Like Puff the Magic Dragon. Remember that song? I think that was supposed to be about smoking pot, though, actually. But go back in history and look at all the family shields and all that stuff with the royalty. They all used the dragon. And remember Princess Diana, too. She said the same thing. She called the royal family all reptiles. Why'd she call them reptiles? Well, they're cold. It could be because they're cold-blooded, had no feelings, or she thought they had no soul. But then again, are they the original evil families and they're cloaking themselves? Who in the hell knows? I don't know. It's just crazy, I think. Yep, Red. There's a lot. Yeah, Hollywood. Red has lots of stories about Hollywood from being there. But there's so much stuff like that. What was that? I can't remember the old show. It used to be with Jesse Ventura, too. And it was on, I can't remember the name of it. But you can go back and find old episodes. We played, I think, part of it when that woman was talking about the pandemic and she was getting out of the country. Jesse Ventura used to cover a lot of that kind of stuff. And I think that's why they pulled his show off the air. Some people will think it's like absolutely ridiculous, but it's not. So much of it's plausible when you think about it. Just like Tesla. Here's another one down the rabbit hole. Tesla was, his stuff was stolen from him basically while he was still alive. He was in that hotel in New York, living all by himself, had all that paperwork and everything. And when he died, it was supposedly Trump's uncle that went in there and took all of his paperwork. And I think they marginalized him and everything because he was able to generate free electricity, which is ether out of the air. That was what that tower was that he had in New Jersey. He was able to bring electricity right through the air. And I think that you look at the churches too. And who would have thought, like in the 1400s, it was a good idea to go, several hundred feet up in the air and make a big spiral, spiral thing with a antenna or a pole or something like that at the top. Why would you even do that? But it makes a lot of sense about taking electricity out of the ether. Yeah, Jesse Ventura has proof that there's something in Minnesota or Wake. Yeah, I know. Jesse's a controversial person. He really is. But what I appreciate about him is that he covers so many different things and he doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. And if you don't have an open mind when you go looking at that kind of stuff, it'll either break you or drive you nuts. I don't know which one. But there's so many things that you could go to in the rabbit hole. Like they're talking about Area 51. Yeah, that's a big one. But then Area 51 too, they got a different place than that now, and they just let that be, the target, but it's not. Yeah, Marty, free energy to big energy is like a cross to a vampire. Boy, you better believe it. Look at the guy that built a car that would run on water. They killed him, There's so many different things that happen like that. Rockefellers, we can go into the Rockefellers. They're one of the most evil families that ever walked the earth. I mean, look what they did. As soon as they had all the petroleum, they went and took the petroleum and what they had waste coming when they're taking the oil and making it into gas. And so what are they going to do with it? Well, they figured out what they're going to do with it. They were going to make petroleum and be the base for pharmaceuticals. Because prior to the Rockefellers doing any of that stuff, our whole medical system was homeopathic. That's a good way to put it. So you would use, they knew some medicines and everything, but you would use herbs, you would use plants, you would do all that kind of stuff. And people survived, they lived, they did all that. It worked. The Rockefellers needed to know what to do with all this industrial waste. So they came across and decided to make pharmaceuticals, and that industrial waste would be put into medicines. And Rockefellers were very, very smart. So what they did, they decided they would do that. So then they went ahead and built all these medical colleges, all right, And so for doctors, so now you would have to actually go to a college and get a license to be a doctor. And when they did that, they took out all the, well, not all, but most of the homeopathic remedies, all that kind of stuff, like different things about grounding, to get rid of disease and frequency, all that kind of stuff. And they totally disappeared it right out of the medical schools. And they went to total pharmaceuticals. Well, then you couldn't be a doctor and get a license unless you went through one of those schools and you followed that protocol. So that's what they did. Then the Rockefellers made a monopoly on big pharma. They're the ones that started all of it. And if you could go back to different divisions and everything, and it's all tied together. But it's all tied together with fossil fuels, big pharma. This is why you get a technocracy, because of these kind of people. But they found a use for their garbage, and it's us. They give it to us. And just like the food pyramid, how many years has our food pyramid been the way it is? And now it's totally flipped upside down. Well, anybody that has a brain knows years ago that if you ate whole foods, so you weren't eating, processed foods, but you ate whole foods, you had your vegetables, your fruits, your meats, and everything, you were doing fine. There wasn't obesity back then. Go back and look at pictures from 50 years ago. Yeah, there was people that were a little heavy here and there, but not like what you see now, where a majority, well, I shouldn't say majority, that's overstating it, but a good part of the population is considered obese. And that all started when, fast food, going away from home cooked whole food meals, all that processed garbage too. Oh my God. It's terrible for you. I mean, I eat it once in a while, but I can feel it after I do it. But so all that stuff, they flipped it over now. And that's what you should have been doing in the first place. But I don't know if they did it for industrial so that people would eat the processed food because it was cheaper, and they tried to make us sick or what. But look at all the food additives, all the dyes that they use and stuff and everything. Look at all the rates of allergies that are out now. You never seen any of that. Do you remember when you were a kid not being able to bring a peanut butter sandwich to school because there was some kid, that was allergic to peanut butter and possibly choked to death or something from peanuts? You didn't see that. Remember, they used to have peanuts on planes. Can't have peanuts on planes anymore. But there was never allergies or any of that kind of stuff when we were younger. That's right, Nut. 500,000 people at Woodstock and you can't find a fat person in there. But I don't know. I've always thought that about the food. You got to go. Sometimes with the government, it's best to just go whatever they say, do the opposite. I don't know anymore. Everything's upside down. They're crazy. Yeah, taking a piece of bologna. The food pyramid was. I'm reading your comments here, so I'm not trying to be rude. Okay, so Coco says peanuts were removed from schools after she went. Yeah, I don't ever remember anybody having allergies when I was in school or anything. So here's another rabbit hole we can get into. Anybody heard of the Gates program? GATES. It's not for Bill Gates. It's called the Gates program, but it ties into Stranger Things and MK Ultra and stuff like that. But it supposedly, I know when this happened. It was more prolific, I think, in the 80s, but very, very end of the 60s and into the 70s, there was a thing called a Gates program. Some kids were taken out of their classroom and they were tested, and their parents thought they were being tested for being gifted or high IQ or something like that. But they were taken out of the classroom and put someplace else, and they would give them earphones, and they would put frequencies in the earphones and see what kind of reaction these kids would have. They were given psychological tests, and they were always given a little cup with pink fluid in it to drink before they did any of these testings. And supposedly what it was the government going through, and they weren't telling the parents, and they were saying it was a talented, gifted program, the Gates was. But what it was they were looking for kids that would be able to be like remote viewers. They could do ESP or telekinetic, where they could make flames happen and all that kind of stuff. This is where Stranger Things is coming in because of the Montauk, New York, where they did a lot of that stuff with MK Ultra and everything. But so that Gates program, there's people now that went through it like in the 70s and the 80s. They don't do it now. If they do it now, it's something totally different, and they do it so surreptitiously. I don't know what the heck it is, because they sure don't come into the schools and do that anymore. But they don't remember a lot of the things that happened in those testing things. But that when you hear like the frequencies or something like that, it'll bring it all back. But that's the whole thing. What Stranger Things is built on is that Montauk and the Gates program and stuff like that. But in the Gate, they trained assassins and all kinds of stuff. So, but they had to figure out who they were able to manipulate, and you had to have basically a high IQ for them to do that too. And they would pull you out. But I hope you guys are enjoying this, because I'm having fun just sitting here rambling about rabbit hole stuff. I could talk like this all day. Oh, why are you not supposed to throw rice? Yeah, because you'll kill the birds. It swells up and kills them. They used to do that at weddings all the time. Yeah, hard LSD was used a lot in that shit too. Oops, sorry. Yeah, LSD was used too. Yeah, Montauk too. Philadelphia experiment, I know about that too. Montauk, though, I'm talking about where Plum Island is up in New York too. That's where the military was doing a lot of really hinky stuff as far as hybridization and that kind of thing. I don't know if you guys remember, might have been maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, they found a couple like really weird corpses on the beach. They weren't people, they were animals, but they didn't look like anything that was normal walking on the earth, I want to say. But that's where the military did a lot of that kind of stuff. Yeah, Plum Island. Yep, yeah, Lyme disease came out of that. That was what is by there? I want to say Fort Detrick. Would somebody correct me on that one? That Fort Detrick was where Lyme disease came out of. I want to say that because you remember that was made that was made on purpose by the military as a bioweapon so that they could go in and drop mosquitoes and ticks and stuff. I mean, who thinks of this stuff? It has to be a bioweapon. You wouldn't do it for anything other reason. But it was ticks with Lyme and mosquitoes. What was that? What was the name of that virus that the mosquitoes had years ago? I don't know if you got anybody in Florida will remember. I think it started with a Z. And it was coming from Zika. That's it, Zika virus. And that supposedly was coming from mosquitoes. Well, that's all military stuff. There's no Zika virus in the real world. They made that up. And now Bill Gates is doing actually drone mosquitoes, and they're able to give you an injection. So if they land on you and they're not biting you, they're injecting you with a vaccine. They've got all that kind of stuff going on now too. But that Zika virus, I remember that. They were scaring the hell out of people. Remember, they were telling you if you were pregnant, don't go outside at dusk when the mosquitoes come up, and you can't use mosquito repellent when you're pregnant because it gets into your skin and gets into the fetus. But yeah, that stuff all happened, and people poo-poo it, but it's the government doing it. Yeah, Marty, flying syringes. Fort Detrick is at Camp David. Okay, yeah, Coco says it's Fort Detrick. Okay, I thought it was Fort Detrick, but there's so much stuff that goes on, and I try to remember every single tidbit of it that goes in my head. But I remember when Lyme disease, just like Epstein-Barr too. Epstein-Barr is another one that comes in. And remember that? I think that hit late 70s, I want to say, because I remember when Epstein-Barr first came out. I like to watch the Golden Girls. That's like one of my favorite shows and always has been. And they even did an episode on Epstein-Barr where, what's her name? B. Arthur, how she kept going doctor to doctor because she was tired and she couldn't figure out why she was so sick. And every doctor told her there was nothing wrong with her and everything. And that was Epstein-Barr. But that was, I think, before they used to call it, what the hell was it? It wasn't Epstein-Barr before. They used to call it something else. Chronic fatigue. That's what they called it, was chronic fatigue, and that it was a new thing. Yeah, it was a new thing because it was manipulated and grown in a lab, and then they released it on the population. So we're part of live clinical trials every freaking day. We're alive, and we're just not giving informed consent on it. And that's what brings us all the way back to the fog and everything now too, because they're doing something with it. They did it in St. Louis and admitted it afterwards. They're testing everybody. Coco, you remember that episode? I do too. But I remember that she got so frustrated because she kept going doctor to doctor. They all told her it was in her head and everything, and it's not. And now they're tying Epstein-Barr virus to MS, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you what I think. But I think it's bullshit. I think because Epstein-Barr was a man-made, it attacks your immune system. All right, makes you have the chronic fatigue. You get the swollen lymph nodes. You're sick. You get sick. All right. Now you go to autoimmune disease. All right. There's MS. There's myasthenia gravis, rheumatoid arthritis, Behçet's disease. What the heck else? There's what Hashimoto's. All of that stuff is autoimmune. All right. So anything that affects your autoimmune system like that drops your well, like what it says, drops your immunity, and you're going to get sick. But each one of those is your own body attacking itself in a different place. Okay. So rheumatoid arthritis is autoimmune. It attacks your joints. The fluid in between your joints and gives you the arthritis. Okay. MS is totally different. It's autoimmune, but it attacks the myelin sheath over your central nervous system. So you can get lesions in your brain or on your spine or anywhere you have a nervous system. That's autoimmune too. Myasthenia gravis is autoimmune, and your body attacks your muscles and makes you really weak, and kind of basically you could actually stop breathing and die from it because of that. And then Hashimoto's is autoimmune, but you can't lay on a carpet because there's irritant in the carpet. You break out in rashes. You can't breathe. This is all autoimmune stuff. So now the medical community is coming out and they're saying, yeah, we tied Epstein-Barr to multiple sclerosis. Well, no frickin' shit. If they made that virus and they knew what the purpose of Epstein-Barr was to do, they knew that they're going to go ahead and everybody's going to get autoimmune disease. Yeah, and yeah, hard parasites cause fatigue too. I know. There's a whole, we could go down a whole rabbit hole on parasites too, because you ever put pork in a bowl and poured Coca-Cola on it, let it set for a while, you'll puke. I'm telling you. But I eat pork, but not that much, but I get sick most of the time when I eat pork. Except for bacon. I can eat a lot of bacon. And I know you guys like bacon too. I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring. I'm reading the chat here. I want to see what everybody's saying. Skin so soft. Yeah, I remember that from Avon. That used to work really good for mosquitoes, but now try finding an Avon lady. I don't even know if you can. Can you order it online? I don't even know. But I used to have that. Marty, arthritis from, oh, I'm not going to say that out loud for you. Yeah, hard cancers. Cancer. Yeah, there's another one too. Did you see how much cancer do you remember seeing when you look at things from like maybe the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and everything? I'm going to say what I think on that. And I think everybody has a defective cell somewhere. You have defective DNA somewhere in your body. You have that, and I think cancer is triggered, and I think everybody has a different trigger. And you don't know what it is, really. It could be environmental. It could be, what you eat or something. But there's a lot of stuff that are carcinogens. But what it does is whatever that trigger is, finds that one cell or attaches to that one cell or melds with that one cell and starts replicating that bad cell. And that's what cancer is. And it can come up to anything. You can get tumors, because look at skin cancer. They tell you to put on sunscreen all the time and everything. No. That's the dumbest thing that you can do, because the sunscreen has shit in it that makes you get cancer even faster. And if you don't absorb vitamin D from the sun, on your skin so that it's able to really penetrate, vitamins work, but it's not the same thing. They're trying to keep you not healthy by telling you not to go out in the sun. That's one of the smartest things you can do, is to go out in the sun. You know, I'm not saying go out there from 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock every single day, high noon, you know, when the sun's just blazing. Go out there like in like twilight, you know, in the early morning, not early morning, but like mid morning, after the sun's been at high noon. And that's the best time to get vitamin D. Your body processes it so much better by getting it from there. It'll improve your mood. Your hair will get longer. Your skin will be better. Just make sure you lather up, but don't put oil on when you do that, because then you'll be cooking yourself when you go out. But I'm not saying going out for hours either. You know, even I think it's like 15, 20 minutes a day, direct sunlight like that when it's not at its peak is really super good for you. But the sunscreen isn't. It's not good for you at all. And there's another thing that you can do. Like, I don't know if anybody's aware of sun gazing. I don't know. I'm reading the chat, but if it wasn't good for you, why would people do that? You know how they tell you, don't look at the sun, don't look at the sun. Yeah, well, you shouldn't do that. You're going to screw your eyes up and everything. But there's a lot of people that believe in sun gazing. And what they do is at dawn and at sunset, they go out and they stare straight into the sun. That's the only time that you're able to do that, because the sun is so dimmed by that point by the atmosphere and everything. But that energy that comes, this is kind of controversial, but it's interesting. So all that energy that comes off the sun comes through your eyes, hits your cones behind your eyes, and comes back into your brain and affects your brain. And it actually transfers energy to you, where there was one guy who said he hadn't eaten any food in a year. He totally lived off of like drinking juices and water and stuff like that, and just sun gazing every day. But it said it changes your energy field. And it's the same thing. Yeah, Deb, that's right. Your circadian rhythm and your sleep patterns, you have to. And this, yeah, regulate your skin. Yep, not saying the first morning photons. Yeah, see, there's a lot of people that know about that sun gazing. I'm glad everybody doesn't think I'm like a nutball from that. But it works. I used to do it sometimes, you know, but I never made a habit out of it. But I probably should. But I do like to go outside a lot as soon as it is, and barefoot too. That's the best thing you can do, is walk around barefoot in the grass or the dirt, and all your energy, you know, like your nervous system goes from your head to your toes. Okay. So at the very bottom of your feet, there's the end of your nervous system. Where do you think that energy goes after it gets down to the bottom of your feet? It doesn't have anywhere to go, really. So it stays in you, causes a lot of problems. If you go outside, it's called grounding. You go outside, walk around barefoot in the grass like that, not on cement, but in the grass or in the dirt like that. And a lot of that energy comes away from you and goes down into the ground. That's why they call it grounding. And you're able to discharge it and get rid of it a lot. It's just like walking through the house in the wintertime and you get static electricity and your hair sticks up all the time. It's kind of the same thing. So you're getting rid of a lot of that static charge. But then we start talking about the static charge and your hair sticking up. I'll go to this one too. If you're RH negative, your blood is more copper based. And if you're RH, I did say it right, RH negative, your blood is more copper based. RH positive, your blood is iron based. So, you know how the doctors always tell you take iron pills, blah, 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 blah. Well, they don't tell you that if you're RH negative, but you're more of a copper-based blood. They can prove it by when they'll do an analysis on it, and you'll see the amount of copper is higher. But if you're RH negative, you have that, your temperature is lower. It's like normal temperature would be like 97.6 or something. I know, like me, I'm cold all the time, but my temperature is never normal. I'm never 98.6. I'm always lower than that. You'll have lighter hair, blue or green eyes. There's a whole thing that goes with that. But what I was getting to is the electricity. Because your blood is more copper based, if you're RH negative, you're going to conduct electricity a lot better. Because what is copper? Copper carries frequency, energy, whatever. That's why they use copper wiring for electricity and everything. And it happens to me all the time. In the wintertime, things get built up because you're in the house all the time. Well, for me, it does. And I'll go to flip the light switch and I get static electricity so bad you can actually see the blue flash when I touch the light switch if it's dark enough. And I'm telling you, man, it hurts. It hurts your fingers when you do that. Yeah, see, come into the world barefoot and go out the same way. I love going barefoot. I absolutely love it, especially on the beach, walking in the sand. Oh, that's like That's my therapy. I could live on the beach. I'm not kidding. Copper bracelets. Yeah, that's the whole thing about copper bracelets too, Doug. You know how you see all these different ads about copper bracelets and everything. Well, yeah, but it conducts electricity, nerve signals and stuff like that better. But the whole thing about it, how do I want to put this? Yeah, I think copper bracelets really work. The whole theory about it is it can disrupt nervous transmissions or it can amplify them. Okay. So let's say you wear a copper bracelet on your wrist, but you got a pain in your hip. That pain signal is going to come out of your spine, follow the branches, okay, in your nerve branches in your body. So let's say that pain signal came down your arm like that. That copper bracelet could possibly mitigate the signal, the pain signal that goes through your nervous system. It's the same thing like, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a TENS unit. A TENS unit is something that gives like a small electrical impulse, like where you have an area of pain. Let's say you have it on your leg, you strap the TENS unit on your leg. That little bit of an electrical impulse, it's nothing strong, you can't really even feel it, but it's enough to disrupt the nerve signal that's running through that nerve that registers pain. And they use that in the hospital. So there's that's all true. Magnetic beaded bracelets. Yeah, magnite too. Like this one I wear, that's magnite. And that supposedly drowns what do you want to say? Not bad energy, because it's not that, but like electrical disruption. That's a good way of putting it. So I wear that all the time. But only walk on the beach once, you escape the hot sand of the waterline. Nah, I love going in the beach. Just watch for the jellyfish. That's what you got to watch for. Copper and ankle support socks. Yep, Florida Trump, that's right. Why does Tommy Copper have all these, all these clothes and everything with the copper in it and everything? Even support hose that you wear for, for lymphedema in your legs and everything have a lot of copper in them. There's so much that goes with that. Relief band for nausea. Yep. There's a thing I think you can do with your ear too. If you press it like at a certain spot back, I think it's right like towards the back of your earlobe. Some of that will take care of nausea too, if you do it right when you start getting sick. But see, I'm glad a lot of you guys are into all this stuff. This is cool. Yeah. But the Tommy Copper stuff, that's what it's for. It doesn't. If it didn't work, I don't think it would be selling so much. But a lot of it, people think it's in your head, but it's not. It's all physics and the way your body, anatomy and physiology and everything too. And there's a lot of stuff that they don't talk to you about in the mainstream media, especially with homeopathic medicine and stuff. Because if they did, what would disappear? All the pharmaceutical advertising. Big pharma wouldn't get their money. The government wouldn't get bribed. Mainstream media would disappear because they wouldn't be funded by big pharma anymore. But there's so much that you can do on your own without, taking drugs. Just like, here's a real good example of it. How many of you have been told to take cholesterol medication? And I can't say this is for everybody, so don't stop taking your medicine if you're really sick. But your brain is made of myelin sheath and cholesterol, all right? Why would they tell you to lower your cholesterol if your brain is made with cholesterol? And when a mother is breastfeeding a baby, what comes out in the breast milk is cholesterol. Cholesterol is a form of cholesterol that forms the baby's brain. There's a reason why it's in breast milk for infants and, when they're first born and everything. God knew what he was doing. He's not a dummy. So all of a sudden the pharmaceutical companies come and tell you, oh, your cholesterol is way too high. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to get, stuff stuck in your arteries. You're going to get all kinds of stuff like that. What do you want to call it? Arterial sclerosis and stuff. But if you continue to take cholesterol medicine, now they're finding, surprise, surprise, you get a lot of problems with your cognitive abilities. I don't want to say full-blown dementia, but there's a lot, you forget things a lot and everything. Well, of course, because you're lowering your cholesterol And that's what feeds your brain. Your brain is cholesterol. If you don't have the cholesterol, your brain's deteriorating. You're losing brain cells. It just makes sense. Okay. But they sell you these cholesterol drugs. Then the big one now is everybody's borderline diabetic. Everybody's borderline diabetic. Oh, you go to the doctor, oh my God, your sugar's at this level, you're borderline diabetic. Well, yeah, so many people are because they're manipulating the numbers for big pharma. They did the same thing with blood pressure just recently too. But they manipulate the numbers like that so they could sell more diabetic medicine. And what did they do with the diabetic medicine? Didn't they just get sued because they were caught? The cost to make insulin is not that great. But yet the companies that make insulin went ahead and doubled, tripled, quadrupled the price on it. And they do that because they know Medicare pays for it. You manipulate the numbers for sugar or for your glucose levels. Okay. Then they make everyone borderline diabetic. And then they say, oh, well, you might need to take metformin before you become a full-blown diabetic. It's the same thing with insulin too. And type 1 diabetes is autoimmune, so that could be something you're born with and it is genetic. But the type 2, all the type 2 diabetes, it's just like they manipulated blood pressure. It used to be what standard was 120/80 is what you always wanted to be. And now they changed the numbers. Well, that way they can give you blood pressure medicine. Why do you want to take that? It just got recalled not that long ago because it was tainted. So big pharma, I got to be careful what I say, but big pharma is not your friend. I mean, if you have a legitimate illness and you're really sick, I'm not saying all of it's bad. There's a lot of good things that can extend your life for you, make you comfortable, make you healthier. But a lot of it isn't good. Look at what vaccines turned out to be. Turned out to be harming so many kids in our country, tore so many families apart. Even COVID, look what happened with everybody with COVID. It turned family member against family member. I can't say a whole lot of anything good about big pharma. Yes, Red, it is my personal opinion. That's what I'm saying. I'm not a doctor. Nope. George calls me Dr. Lasagna, but it's just stuff what I used to do for a living. I worked for big pharma, and did a lot of scientific abstracts and seen, what they do. And I read a lot and everything, and they're really not your friend, but yeah. Okay. Denise says that's what caused her mom's cancer. Yeah. Metformin. That's ML Heath. They proactively gave her metformin. Yeah. Metformin's not a good thing. But there's a lot of things that big pharma does. And why would they cure you if they could keep you chronically ill so that you'd be a repeat customer? Kind of makes sense on a business model, doesn't it? What was the other one that I was going to say about? Shit. It'll come to me. I couldn't think about it right away. Yeah, you cut a lot of sugar and carbs out. Yeah, your numbers are going to go down. It's like me. My cholesterol runs like 245 and higher, but it's under 300. And I'm not a heavy person. I think I'm 100 between 110, 115 pounds. I'm not heavy. And they would put me on cholesterol medicine. And no, my mom's the same way. My mom's real tall, but she's real thin. And her cholesterol is like the same thing. But it's genetic. You can go through families and you can see it's genetic. And they say the higher your cholesterol, the longer you live. But the caveat is there's two cholesterols. There's the LDL and your HDL. So you have to be careful which number that you're talking about. But I don't think there's really a super bad cholesterol. The thing you don't want to eat though is like bologna. I mean, that has a lot of carcinogens in it. Lunch meat does. Look at how it's processed. They put stuff in it to keep it fresh, keep it shelf stable or refrigerator stable and everything. Did you ever see what happens to lunch meat when you have it too long in the refrigerator? Anyways, it gets that green slime and stuff on it. What the hell is that? Starts looking like some really weird stuff. Yeah, a lot of people you can control type 2 diabetes by diet. There is absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, this wasn't prevalent prevalent. I got that wrong. Prevalent back in the 20s, the 30s. I mean, remember, people weren't even really heavy then. Remember Fatty Arbuckle? They called him Fatty Arbuckle because there weren't really heavy people like that. So he really stood out. And I remember Spanky and our gang, that chubby little kid, he was a little cutie pie. Yeah, people will put you on Stanton because of heart history. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't say. Everybody has to make your own decision on that and everything, but I don't know. If your brain is cholesterol, I'd rather have more cholesterol. Thank you very much, so that I know what the heck I'm doing day to day. Because if I ever get dementia, I hope somebody shoots me in the head. I don't want to live like that. I don't see how people can. I've seen dementia. And it's so sad. So sad. And RG, you got a good doctor then. Tells you get off the Lipitor? Hell yeah. Yeah, Wegovy and Ozempic, that's horrifying, that stuff, what's coming out with that stuff. It's taking, people are going blind. Their organs are basically melting. Oh, there's so much bad stuff with that. I know some people are using it like short term to lose weight. Yeah, that's all right. But once you stop taking it and you don't manage your diet, you're going to put that weight right back on. But long term, and they didn't study it. That's crazy. And they're saying now too, was it Oz that came out and said about liquor? They're finding out, like, if you follow the Mediterranean diet and you do drink a little bit of liquor, you know, not like you sit down and drink a freaking 12-pack at night or anything like that, but like, you know, a shot or two. It has to be like red wine or maybe something pure. I don't know. I think vodka's pretty pure, made out of potatoes. But they're saying some of that stuff, you know, that's what people that lived in Greece and everything, because of their diet and everything, they live really, really long and they live really healthy. And what is this? I don't want to say it. And Santeria is that's the religion, I think, Santeria, isn't it? What's the island called? Not Sardinia, but it's something like that in Greece. And the whole island is all hills and stuff. And the people there are in their 90s, they're 100 years old and everything. They eat the Mediterranean diet, so they're eating all whole foods. They have a little bit of alcohol, but the biggest thing is the exercise. They have to walk uphill to go to the store. They have to walk downhill to go back home and everything. And they're actually out moving and getting their body going and everything. And that's really important for cell regeneration. If you sit in a recliner all day and just watch TV, that ain't good for you. It doesn't matter how long you get out and exercise, but you have to get out and you have to move your body. You have to do that stuff. And I think you'll live a long life, you know, and a lot of it, Santorini. Okay. Yep. That's it, Craig. I was trying to think of what. Yeah. Dub, Santorini, not Sardinia. And then I was thinking, what? There's that one voodoo religion too. Starts with an S. It sounds like Santorini though. And then my Midwest accent too. But yeah, get up and move and keep a purpose in your life. You know, you got to have purpose. Find something that you really, really enjoy to do, even if it's reading and you want to learn things. Unless you get out and you have a purpose, you're just going to go. You're just going to shrink and you're going to die early. That's what I got to say. I mean, but as long as you have purpose and you find something to do, keep moving, have a good diet, you know, and Santeria, that's it. That's red. That's what it was. Santeria. I know Santorini and Santeria. It was pretty damn close. But, you know, look at all the people that live old. When they ask them, why did they live old? And they say, well, I used to drink a shot of whiskey every night. Oh, I didn't eat, you know, this or that. You know, those people are right. Look how long people lived before. You go back to the Bible and you got the people that lived, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years. And that's the one I want to know about. How did you know, there's a whole genealogy listed at the very beginning of the Bible where they say all the kings and how long they lived and everything. It's interesting to find out if they really did live that long, you know, and because of the way things are now, our life expectancy is this short. I don't know. LASIK. Yeah, I want surgery too, so I don't have to wear glasses. I'd like that. Then I'd not have to wear them. Santeria is evil. It's bad stuff. It's almost like voodoo. I don't know. I watch a lot of documentaries, but I'm not on any meds at all. Nope. I got sick before and get some tumors from autoimmune drugs. I ended up getting part of my intestine taken out, and I had a breast tumor and everything, and had to get it taken out. And I won't go on them anymore. And then thankfully, I got a doctor now because I wouldn't go anymore. And she doesn't push me to go on meds for MS or anything. I control it with no stress. Try to eat a lot of whole foods. Stay away from people when they're sick. Wash your hands. All that kind of stuff. But stress is the biggest thing. You got to stay. Stress will kill you. The more stressed you are, it makes your cortisol go up. Cortisol ends up harming your organs, your blood pressure, all kinds of stuff. So stay as less stressed as you can. Don't worry about it. What do they say? Don't worry, be happy. That's why people live a long time, I think. The more negative you are and everything like that, the worse you're going to be, I think, because it has an effect on your body. What's the matter? What did you say? Damn, Trixie. Yeah. No, I did. I was on autoimmune meds. I used to go every 4 weeks and get a Solumedrol and Remicade injection. I had to drive 50 miles all the time. Go up there, and it was like a couple hours of sitting in the chair, get the infusion and everything. I was so sick. I used to shoot up methotrexate every Friday because I was working. And that way I'd be, when I got sick from it, I'd had the weekend to get better to go back to work on Monday. But that stuff made me even sicker than my disease. It was really bad. But the Mediterranean diet, I'll swear off of that one, Deb 54. I don't know. That is so good for you. But I don't know. I love the Mediterranean diet. I don't like broiled fish though. That just kind of grosses me out. I like fried fish. That's my bad thing. I don't know how many of you guys know about no stress with all of us. Yeah, right. NRG, yeah. Everybody's got some kind of stress, but try to mitigate it and you'll live a lot longer. I know where some of you guys, Florida for Trump, I'm not going to say it, but yeah, I know how some of you guys take care of your stress out there, and I know how quite a few of you do, but I don't have any problem with that at all. You can eat gummies, you can do whatever you want. But there's a lot of stuff like that big pharma makes you sick. That's all I can say. You guys thank you for hanging out with me, and because I don't have that many clips or anything, and it wasn't my fault. I was so stressed out yesterday. I'm telling you guys, don't get stressed. And I was so stressed yesterday over not being able to pull anything up and my connection freezing up and everything. It was really bothering me. But it looks like tomorrow we'll be back to normal then. George will be here with me tomorrow. Sean is I think he's in the Bahamas this morning. He sent me a picture of beautiful water and said they were getting off the ship and going into the town. So it'll just be me and George tomorrow. So that'll be fun though. So, and then we'll be back to doing our clips and everything. Cause I know yesterday freaking rocked. I thought our show yesterday was really, really good. I think we covered a lot of stuff, and without the guys here today, I could kind of just go off on a tangent and talk about a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm glad you guys stuck around to listen. I appreciate it. You don't know how much we appreciate you guys watching and sticking with us. Oh, thank you, MK. Red, I think he said he was going to, I asked him, I texted him yesterday and said, I'm getting kind of thirsty. Are you going to have a rum bucket really soon? And he said, yes. So I'm assuming he had one last night. I hope he did. If not, he better be doing it today. Cause I missed that. I like that rum bucket when we were in Nashville, and I don't usually drink rum. Well, thank you guys. I'm so glad you stuck with me today. I was really sweating it there, because I knew George. Well, I thought George was going to be here this morning, but I didn't know until yesterday evening. Neither did he, that it was what he had to do was, this morning and not this afternoon. No, I don't know. I don't think Ed and Karen were watching. But I love doing the rabbit hole stuff. I love doing that. I'd love to do a different subject every week if I could, but I don't think the guys they don't like it. I don't think. Well, thank you, Little. Thank you, guys. It's so nice of you. Thanks, Nut. I love you too. Hard man, we have cannabinoid receptors in our bodies. Smoke pot. Yes, I know. There's cannabinoid receptors in our bodies. A lot of people do the gummies or. Smoking it's okay, but it depends on what you're doing because you're getting some of that in your lungs. I think if you make your own gummies or can of butter or something, you're a lot better off. You know what I mean? I make can of butter, or I have made can of butter, and I make. I'll tell you a real funny story before we shut off, because my dad's not here, so he can't get mad at me anymore. My dad passed away. You know, you guys knew about that. He was here, and I had can of butter, and I made brownies for my mom and dad. And my dad was probably, what was he, 70? He was like 74 at that time or something like that. And anyways, I said, you guys want some brownies, and they're can of butter. Well, my dad ate like 2 of them, and my mom ate 1. My mom was going out the front door, and there's like a little bit of a step that goes down, and she was like, woo, going down there because she was feeling pretty good. Well, my dad was like, this shit didn't do anything to me. I don't even know why you do that and everything. Well, he went to bed, and it just took a little bit longer to hit him. He got up in the morning and told me that he got up to go to the bathroom, and he thought he was blind. He said, I couldn't see anything. I was blind. So he really got messed up on it. But yeah, I know there's a flower gummies. I never had flower gummies. Yeah, you can't own guns and be registered for medical marijuana. Nope, that's a big no too. You got to be really careful. But I just want to tell you guys all, thanks for hanging with me. And we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be doing our own same thing. And I love you all. And thanks for telling me I'm doing a good job. That means a lot to me that you guys enjoyed what I was talking about. Because I was just like, this was off the cuff because of everything that happened yesterday. I couldn't really get anything. So I just talked about what I knew about. But if you guys really want me to do this now, every now and then, like make a little segment where we do like a rabbit hole, I'll do it. Because I really like doing it. And any of you guys that know stuff about rabbit holes can come on with me and we'll do that. Does that sound like a good idea? Oh, thank you, Red. Oh, thanks, Marty. All right, well, we're going to see you guys tomorrow. And I'm going to say thank you, Xfinity, for finally fixing my feed. So thanks, guys. What should I play going out? Since it's my choice and there's nobody here. Let's see if the music will play. I haven't tried it. I'm going to play the one that I like. I like this one. Weird in the Sky. All right. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging with me.